Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Patrick Liu, and I'm going to be your host for the Diabetes Survival Guide show. I'm the founder of the Diabetes Management Group, where I am a fitness and wellness coach for people with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. And this show will be a way to share the phenomenal stories about people with all forms of diabetes, healthcare professionals who work with people with diabetes, health and wellness coaches who work with people in this population, and or caregivers and relatives with people with diabetes across the world. A little bit of a personal background for me as a show starter is I was diagnosed with prediabetes back in 2021 and made some modifications to my lifestyle and habits to successfully reverse it in 2022. However, that onset of me receiving prediabetes in 2021 triggered my memories of when my grandpa, who passed away when I was a sophomore in high school from kidney failure secondary to his type 2 diabetes, about the care that was misunderstood and not the greatest at that time. So I want to provide this show as a way to explore the different spectrums of diabetes and healthcare professionals sharing their tips of what they've seen helpful in working with folks with them, and then some things that weren't as helpful so that y'all can learn something. So thank you so much, and we'll get started with the disclaimers and the show.
Disclaimers. This show is not medical advice or a treatment plan and may contain sensitive and explicit content. It is intended for general education and demonstration purposes only. This content should not be used to self-diagnose or self-treat any health, medical, or physical conditions. Don't use this show to avoid going to your own healthcare professional or to replace the advice they give you. Consult with your healthcare provider before attempting anything you learned in this show. You agreed to identify and hold harmless the creators of this material for any and all losses, injury, or damages resulting from any and all claims that arise from your use or misuse of this show material. The creators and guests of this show make no representations about the accuracy or suitability of this content. Use these materials at your sole risk. Views and opinions are individual to the creators and guests of this show and do not represent any other opinions or entities and are not intended to offend anybody. We hope you enjoy the show. And welcome back to another episode of the Dive. I'm your host, Patrick, the one and only. So it's a fun time over there. And student physical therapist, and almost finished up with my nutrition coaching certification. Today, I'm joined by a really special and really amazing guest. Carlos from Beast No Mode. He is a phenomenal storyteller, sharing his experience in being a diabetes warrior, sharing his story and experiences with others so that he can inspire them to invest into their health, invest into their nutrition, invest into being the best version that they can be, and understanding that, yeah, so what if I have diabetes? I can still make the lifestyle changes to improve my health, be present with myself, and then I can serve other people, whether that be my loved ones, my family members, to be an inspiration for them as well. Carlos, if you wouldn't mind telling us about yourself and sharing your diagnosis story, I'm sure the audience and I would really appreciate it for the things that I haven't covered.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I'm a man of God, and He leads me everywhere, and He's kept me alive this far in my life. Shout out to Him. Mostly 38-year-old male from Florida. I love it out here. Been married almost a year now. I
Congrats.
have type 2 diabetes. Thank you. I have type 2 diabetes, a little overweight, but I still look good, and I'm still trying to get back to where I need to be at. Don't be discouraged. I just like to have fun, laugh, and joke, and tell stories, and listen to people mainly. Most of the time, I'm shy when I have to talk, and just like to sit back and relax on those parts.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And then, if you wouldn't mind telling the audience as well, what was it like when you got first diagnosed with diabetes? And what were some of the things that you would say have been the key takeaways from it?
From diabetes standpoint, when I got diagnosed, I was in a hospital. A little backstory on that: I did get in a car accident. I was on the way home from work. Funny story is that I wasn't even supposed to be at work. I got called into work and picked up a couple extra hours. I was homeless in the beginning of the whole situation. Coming back to that, and then going to my new place, I had just got that week. As I was driving through, I was going down the road, and a car was swerving around the road, And I went to go swear to miss them, and they still hit me. Ended up in the hospital. I ended the way to the hospital. The ambulance asked me if I was okay, if I was like nauseous or sick to my stomach or anything like that. I didn't understand what was going on, and then they told me that my blood sugar was like a 450 something, and I was going in DKA, and I'm like, I feel normal. Are you sure? And kept asking me. It was like, yeah. So it's just in the hospital, on the way to the hospital, strapped to a gurney with my arm bleeding and just in shock from that first and foremost. That was the second thing of diabetes. I think they're crazy. I'm like, uh, just in a hospital bed and waiting for just in I think I was in ICU waiting on them to look at my arm and everything like that. Diabetes was still in the back of everybody's mind. It was like the first thing was stop the bleeding or anything like that. So when I finally got to where I needed to be at in the ICU room, since I have DKA, the doctor just came and told me that I was diabetic and I might need insulin pump the rest of my life, and this all kinds of crazy things that I've never even heard. Like, I've known about diabetes, I just didn't know what was it about, how it comes about, how you diagnose with it, or how to deal with it in a whole life. It was overwhelming. So it was two parts of bleeding, stitches, and taking medications, and being in the ICU for a couple of days until I still didn't even know what was going on. Plus, I didn't have my glasses, so I couldn't see.
Ah,
So it was one of those things where I didn't have my glasses, so I just had my phone, and thank God I was nearsighted because I was just laying in the bed. I was just reading through diabetes like for the 2 days I was there in the ICU because there was nothing else to do and I couldn't sleep the way it was. Because so basically I barely slept and I just read most of the time with my phone like in my face,
mm-hmm.
reading about diabetes, how it works, and just educating myself as I'm going through this whole motion. So it's just like one of those things where I couldn't watch TV, didn't really have anybody visiting, or I was just in there and it was just me and my phone the whole time. I was just like scrolling. All right, this is what you do, this is how you deal with it, things like that. Still in the 2 days I was in the ICU, the main doctor, the endocrinologist or anybody that was on staff to actually help me and talk to me about it was not to be found. They were busy. They weren't allowed. They couldn't come to me or anything like that.
Oh,
So I was just in there. I had so many questions. They just kept coming in doing all kinds of different tests. They did a blood test or something like that, EKG, and just trying to figure out how bad my diabetes was, because when they told me that my diabetes is greater than 14, and there's a
geez.
I think they said the scale it goes to 12 or anything like that. I was well past it, and it was just one of those things where I didn't even understand that part. I was just like, okay, is like that really bad? Can I die right now? It was just like, it's just gradually happened. After a while, you just get used to the symptoms. I don't know. I compared it to being overweight a lot of the time. Like once you start losing the weight, and then it comes back, you get 2 pounds, 3 pounds here and there, and you don't notice it until the end. Somebody points it out. Same thing with diabetes. You go from what genetics and from your dieting and being stagnant and not doing anything, a little every time, every day, you start feeling different symptoms, but you just shake it off. Oh, it's nothing, and then your body, then you yourself, your mind adjusts to it, and you don't even realize that you're diabetic. Like one of those things where the doctor even told me I was almost diabetic for 2 years, like before that. It was really rough, but I made it through and finally got out of the ICU into a regular room. And then I think I was there for 3 days before I even saw any of the main doctors who were helping me to get started with the meter and where to go and how to deal with it and everything like that. So it was a lot of questions were answered in 10 minutes. And it was just, from there, I just hit the ground running and went and just started doing what I needed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm blown away by that story too. Very powerful. And if you all want more details about Carlos's story and learning more about his diagnosis story in depth, Carlos does have a podcast. I'll link it in the show notes description over there. Just an awesome plug for him. And feel free to listen to more of his insights and his journey throughout his life. And I also wanted to highlight on the fact too that I think it's phenomenal that you went from a situation where, oh my gosh, I went to the hospital and then all of a sudden I'm being strapped up and they're taking my blood and they told me that I have a bunch of different medical terms that I don't quite understand, like DKA, for those who don't know what DK is. It could stand for multiple different things, but diabetic ketoacidosis is one of the terminologies for it, where your blood sugars are so high that it's producing way too many ketones, which it's not great for the brain, the organs, because if something is too great in an amount, too much of that, it can actually start to cause our body to shut down, which is not a good thing. So I'm very grateful that the medical providers were there to ensure, like, what other tests that they wanted to make sure that you are doing well and you're doing fine, which I think it's great that you are here now and being an inspiration for others. And of course, taking action, like saying, all right, let's look up what diabetes is, and then let's hit the ground running in improving my life so that I can then feel better, so that I can then go from there to be the best person that I can be. For those folks that are out there, I'm pretty sure you probably thought the same thing of, wow, Carlos is awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so the next thing I wanted to ask you, Carlos, is what inspired you to create Beast No Mode and inspiring others to invest into their health and getting their muscle gain going on?
Believe it or not, I actually created the Beast No Mode way before I even was known I was diabetic or anything like that. It was just one of those things that I've always been like in the health and fitness most of my life, but most like anybody in their younger age or on and off with it, either hanging out with friends, hitting up some bars at a young age, or just being a kid or a young adult and just having fun. So it's like in between, in and out, in and there. But it was always been my passion to be in the health and fitness and things like that. And I remember, I think I was just sitting at home watching TV, and the name just came to me, and I just like that is a great name. And I was looking it up, and I just went on. I'm like, man, that's really cool. So I went on Instagram and typed it in to see if I could change my name to it, and lo and behold, nobody had it. So it became mine. It was just an inspirational thing. It was a goal for me to have that name and everything like that. Matter of fact, I actually tattooed it on my back. It's my
Awesome.
tattoo on my back, just so I never forget it. And it was just the eye-opening thing that I needed. Fast forward, I think it was maybe 3 years, 2 years, 2 or 3 years after that, I actually, when I got diagnosed with diabetes, that I actually took it more seriously and actually took the name of Beast No Mode and went with it, because a lot of people say beast with no mode or beast mode or anything like that. So people say beast mode, they like there's a switch they like going on there. So the name Beast No Mode came about as a beast with no mode. I'm always a beast, so there's no mode, so you're just a beast all the time. So that's the way I explain it. And it's really, it can be anything you do in life. It could be diabetes, it can be health, it can just be everyday life. You're just a beast, you're just killing it, doing better for yourself and knowing what to do. And it's just one of those things where I'm grateful for even the name even coming about. It inspires myself every day. Still, people fall off and you get to the point where you're distracted by other things, but yet you keep that in the back of your mind. That's a motivational thing, and it comes back up to the front where you need to get back to where you're working out at and motivating people, and being the biggest motivator for yourself is the best thing you can do. Is can't have anybody else around you tell you something different. Like they can't motivate you. The only person that has to be motivating is yourself. So the name itself is motivating once you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for those who are feeling the amazing words, those who can hear this, feel this, and listening to this, seeing this through this video, I would just say that there's no limitations that we can accomplish. Like, there's a reason why Carlos picked up the name Beast No Mode, because we're going to be a beast and we're going to be amazing every single time, 100% of the time. And it's all about looking within and how can we go about that. So, like Carlos, amazing guy. He is a child of God. He is a husband, and he is beast no mode, where he is doing his best to improve his health and wellness journey and then inspiring other people to do that. And of course, showing what's possible too, because for some folks that are out there, they may think, as Carlos heard about it from his doctor from that car accident, oh my gosh, you're going to be on insulin pump for the rest of your life. To actually, let's challenge that. Let's see how well I can improve my health and then go from there. So really awesome work, I will say.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, Carlos, I want to ask this question now. What has been your favorite moment since starting Beast No Mode?
You know, it's funny. It's the recent thing that I've actually got to do. A company actually invited me out to San Diego to hang out for a couple days.
What? Yo, that's crazy.
Yes. It was really a lot of fun. And it was just one of those things where they invited me out. At first when they messaged me, they're like, "Hey, we want to invite you out," and I'm just like, "Is this real?" You get a lot of those spam things in your inboxes, and you just
Mhm.
don't want to listen to it, anything like that. But they were amazing. So I talked to the people. I almost even missed the interview for them to even pick me, because
Yeah.
I was at home and I was just cleaning up the house and getting dinner ready, and I just got home from work a little while ago before that, so I'm just like rushing around the house and just, what am I missing? And then they like send me an email, it's like, hey, we can reschedule. I'm like, no, I'm coming out right now. So I had a great talk with them, and then they invited me out that way, and then it was just magical. It's just they provided everything for me, and it was just the first step where I realized all my hard work is paid off.
Hmm.
And it was just the happiest moment that they a lot of things. I got to meet people with other people with diabetes, got to understand diabetes more, got to try out the product, and it was just ball. And then I got to shoot like feel like a little celebrity, got to shoot a little video and things like that. Well, and just be there and see where my hard work has paid off all the years, and it's come together that somebody's that actually wants me to promote it as well and show it off and just be happier and give me more motivation to be where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think this is just the beginning. So all the hard work that gets you to right here, and I think you're probably going into this exponential curve where this is getting out of that valley of disappointment for some people saying whenever they start something new where all right, initially it may not seem like you're doing anything or nothing's really going right, or maybe they are going right, but one's not seeing the results that they want, to eventually just explodes out of control. And now Carlos is being reached out by a bunch of companies to get flown out everywhere, getting flown across the country and sharing his insights and knowledge and wisdom, as well as sharing his experience with the products and services that he's used. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I want to add, like, I'm 38 years old and the business is finally taking off. It doesn't matter what age you're at. It's just a matter of where your mindset is going to be. And you can get in shape now at 38, 40, any age. You can start a business and keep going yourself, motivate yourself. It's one of those things where your health leads to a lot of things. Once you start taking care of your body, you just start other things fall into place. You start taking care of your body, the rest of your life, anything else you want to do, and then you start pursuing passions because you're passionate about everything you're doing so far because you're a healthier version of yourself. Just think if you're overweight or not feeling well, not dealing with your diabetes, well, you're just miserable and depressed and you don't want to do anything. You had no motivation. So starting off with just being healthier, it will spring you to anywhere else you want to go to.
The one step at a time to invest in your health, and it'll pay so many dividends in the future. And taking that first step, then that other step, then that other step, and eventually you wake up and you're like, oh wow, who's that person in the mirror? That person looks super confident. That person is sexy. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And that person is you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And I know that you've mentioned some products that you were showcasing when you were out in San Diego. For some of the audience members who may not be aware of what products are for people with diabetes, would you mind sharing a bit more of your experience with that?
It was Dexcom. So these things were you put on the back of your arm, and it goes to your phone, your watch, and everything like that. And it's really helpful. I was on mainly most of my life, or most of my diabetic life. We'll cover that because it's a new thing. I was pricking my fingers all the time, and then after a while, I feel like nobody else wants to prick their fingers, so they just stop. And it hurts you because you don't know where your blood sugars are at because you don't want to bother with the pain, you don't want to bother getting it out and changing out the lancet or even making sure it's charged or anything like that, so you're in between there. So this whole Dexcom thing was just a game changer for me. My blood sugars are phenomenal right now. Little highs and lows there. A lot of highs, some not a lot of highs, but some highs. Sometimes you have a little snack, so you just can't beat yourself up about those. But this product is amazing. Other products that actually make your life a lot easier for tracking your diabetes, or your numbers, your glucose numbers, or anything like that. I much rather have somebody have something to have those with. So if opposed to pricking your finger, there's a lot out there nowadays where you don't have to prick your fingers anymore.
Continuous glucose monitors, amazing. And then for those with the insulin pumps, that's also a game changer as well. Like being able to have those resources available so it can save the time that one would need to poke their fingers on a daily basis. Highly recommend it for folks. Personally, I used the Freestyle Libre 2 on the free trial when I was tracking my blood sugar levels, and my goodness, it does a fantastic job. Like Dexcom and Abbott, like those companies that are out there making these medical devices, and eventually I hope that it's more mainstream for other people, because I think for everyone, they would really benefit from having a continuous glucose monitor just to assess how their body reacts to certain foods, because maybe for one person, they could eat rice and they don't have as much of a high blood sugar response compared to somebody else. And that could be just due to how our bodies metabolize food, because everybody's different. And the best way to measure that is to have a tool, a medical tool or an object or something that's out there that could track those trends and then allow us to become better educated of, okay, what happens if I now eat rice with some steak? Or what happens when I eat that rice and then go on a 15 to 20-minute walk afterwards? And then measuring the response that influence the blood sugar levels so that it's in more of those appropriate ranges consistently. And whenever one does have that snack, as Carlos said, hey, enjoy that snack, because now one knows how to regulate their blood sugars whenever that spike comes up. Because after that snack, one could go on a leisurely walk. Like, it's perfect for a break. Get out to have some awesome sun if that's around you, or if you're stuck in a building and it's raining outside, then pacing around the building, maybe chatting with some folks, or really admiring the doorways and the signs that are over there, just having a good time with what you got. And of course, everyone is doing the best with what they can, and if there's something new that we learned of, why not give that a shot too? Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. And before we continue with the rest of this show, I wanted to let y'all know, please feel free to give this podcast a 5-star rating if you like it. Share it with other folks that you think it'd be beneficial for. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and follow to the Diabetes Management Group for awesome tips to manage your type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. And let's get back to the show.
That's excellent. That's excellent advice as well. CGMs are a lifesaver. We're getting to that where technology is taking over, and some of it's in a good way.
Yeah. Hey,
guys, get your hands
technology
on
is here.
CGMs,
It's
man.
more about how one uses it, because it's like technology is not here to replace people. It's the people who know how to use technology who replaces the people who don't know how to use technology. So this is a friendly reminder that there's plenty of free YouTube videos that are out there that one can learn how to utilize technology to make their life easier. And that ease and comfort, it's very similar to the difference between someone wanting to get from Florida to San Diego. And the matter of that, it's okay, you can either walk, or you can either drive, or you can either fly a plane over there. So technology, view it as more of a, oh, that's my way of taking a car or taking a airplane to get over to where I want to go for that area, versus walking the entire way there. Because if we're like, all right, Florida to California, let's go right now, just only walking, like, people would just have big eyes like, you're expecting me to trek that? Whereas if we go back to 100 years before and, okay, we got to go from this part of the country and go way to the other side of the country, at that point, they're thinking like, all right, get the carriages, get your packs and everything. We're going to make the trek across. And that's the norm, because that was the best thing they could do back in those times. But now, since we have more access to other commodities, why not learn how to utilize them so that one is able to achieve their goals even faster? So it's just a tool, and it all depends on how one learns how to use it. And of course, everyone has the skill to learn something new, as we've made it this far learning so many things. So why not learn another thing that can potentially make a huge difference in our life?
That is absolutely right. It's not getting with the times, it's understanding the times.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have the bare minimum understanding, at least you're there, because then you're just gonna get lost. Just use the tools that you have. If not, there's tools out there to have the tools.
Yeah, it's just like for the people in developing countries where their resources may be scarce. However, they have a very resourceful mindset that whenever they do receive the donations or receiving the education of how to build something that is technologically worthy compared to a place that is more developed, then it's like they just skipped so many generations, because from the US, it took 50 plus years to develop a cell phone. Whereas now, if we were to go to the countries that are developing, like someone could literally gift them an iPhone and they could learn how to use it, and they just advanced way past those 50 plus years that it took for us to create that cell phone and that technology. And now they're grateful for it because then they could be even more connected with other people so they can fulfill the missions and values that they have within their lives. So I think it's awesome. I'm more of an optimist, I will say, and I like taking a look back, and it's more about how can we utilize our mindset and the resources available and being creative with it so that we can then just make the most out of it.
It's all mindset. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You gotta embrace change.
Yeah.
You know, being older and everything like that, you embrace change. Being an '80s baby, you got to deal with stuff from the '70s, stuff in the '80s, stuff in the '90s. You get to live the different decades, learning a lot of things from there. So it's a lot to get used to.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, Carlos, I wanted to hear what has been the most painful lesson that you've learned during your personal journey with diabetes and since starting Beast No Mode.
Main thing, you can't win them all. You just can't. The way I say that is, there's some days you're going to have great days, and there's some days you're going to have bad days, and you just can't dwell on the bad days. You can't sit there and say, I didn't eat this the right way, or I didn't eat that, or I didn't do that, or I didn't go for a run, or I got distracted, or I felt like sleeping that day. And just, you can't win every day, but don't lose every day, if that makes any sense to anybody. You just sit there with, especially with diabetes, it's a marathon. It's not a race. It's not anything like that. You go through struggles. You're going to go through struggles, and it's where you go after the struggles is what really matters, because you can sit there and beat yourself up every day. You can be like, oh, well, I didn't do this yesterday, so I'm not going to do it today. And those add up. And I've had those days where in weeks and maybe a couple months where I'm just like, I gave up and things like that because I'm not doing well, or I feel like I'm not doing well. What's the point of even bothering to get to where I'm at? But then you just got to snap yourself out of it, because you're just going to fall into a pit. And especially with diabetes, you don't want to fall in that pit.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's hard to get out of, and you get into habits and distractions, and that well has flat walls. So once you start trying to climb out of it, it's one of those things. But at the same time, when you do have those flat walls, make sure you have those people around you that can throw you down a rope.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you have people talk to somebody, have a conversation with somebody. Look, this is how I'm feeling today. This is what I need. This is what I got to be doing. Just need some help. That's not motivating me. It's just somebody to talk. Sometimes you just got to talk it out, and understanding and going from there. It's just, I had hard times, high blood sugars and things like that. And especially like last year of my life, it's been rough because I don't know what I want. I didn't know what I want to be when I grew up. So still growing up, and I just had different jobs and going through things and just experimenting. So it's just one of those where you got to live every day and not beat yourself up every day as well.
Yep. I'd probably say too that there's like the thing that I enjoyed about listening to that was being able to understand that life is going to have those ups and downs, and those ups and downs, yeah, those ups are amazing and great. And then there was this other story that I've heard from someone while they were managing their own health and wellness journey and managing the ailments that they did have. It was the hard moments that they experienced that they were able to draw upon those hard moments and those experiences to share with someone else who had went through something similar, so that they could educate them on, okay, yes, that situation was tough when I went through it, but now I learned how to overcome it for the next time. And being able to share that wisdom and experience with someone else who it was their first time going through it or about to enter into it, that person who went through it, they're like, wow, that hard moment was actually a blessing. I just didn't know it was a blessing until later on. So those low moments can turn into a win in the future. And those losses that people say, it's like, oh, you lost and that's it. No, there's a reason why that loss happened. It's so that one can learn from it, so that they can utilize those learnings to inspire others. And I'd say more importantly, as a way to check in with themselves to figure out where am I going right now? Let's do a check-in. Where's my direction heading? What do I want to do? Where's my focus in? And how can I make this next day even more amazing and set up those boundaries for it? And I get it. It's difficult at times when it's the high blood sugars for one day and then waking up to another high and then waking up to another high. And it just feels like that's relentless and it's unrelenting, like a big snowstorm or like a big like weather event that's closing down everything. But eventually it lightens up and the sun comes out, melts up all the snow, and then all the ice gets melted and drips off, and one's able to experience that. But the benefit of the snow and the rain that happened is we recovered from a drought that happened. Having those insights that let's get the full framework in that picture, because there's different moments and different experiences that one can actually utilize for the gifts of what it's supposed to do.
It's just one of those things that every day you're just challenging yourself and take stock of what you're doing and how you're living, and just if like I said before, like I didn't never notice what my sugars were, my blood sugars were before I got used to them. So I know a lot of people get used to their blood sugars and things like that, and if they're not either constantly checking their levels or anything like that, a whole week of eating nothing but sugary snacks and things like that, you might feel normal because your body's recurring back to the normality of before. So you're not knowing the difference until you go back to check. And that's when you really get mad at yourself. But at the same time, when you're really taking stock of what you were eating and ingesting before going back, falling back into those things where you're just, okay, I know I wasn't supposed to eat, have these things, but I'm having such a fabulous week. But the fabulous week ends when reality hits you back in the face and tells you your sugars are off. Don't beat yourself up over that. It's just a lapse. So you just move on from there. You know what you're supposed to be doing. Take stock, write it down, and anything that you have bought, maybe throw it out.
Mm-hmm.
Anything bad that you know, like, okay, let's compare it to an alcoholic. Sometimes alcoholics, they drink a lot and they fall off the wagon and they just go for a whole week of drinking. They feel great, and after a week, maybe they don't feel so great. Now they want to get back on the wagon. They're not going to keep the alcohol in the building. They're not going to keep the alcohol in the house. They're going to throw it all out. So as diabetics, we go through that week of eating, binging, and things like that we're not supposed to be doing. Why can't we do the same thing? Why can't we sit there and look, that's not supposed to be here? I know you paid for it. I know it's inflation, but do you really need it? You're going to pay for it in some other way. Just go from there, throw the stuff out, and continue your journey. You didn't mess up your journey, you didn't mess up anything. Just like the Lord said, you're not good enough to destroy your path that you want to go on. You're not that strong. You're not that powerful. So you are not that powerful for something else to take over for you to ruin your journey. So stay on that journey.
Mm-hmm.
You did it, get it over it, and move on.
Yeah. I would say too, for any time someone goes through that bout in that situation, another story that I've learned of, and it probably hits home, and this is definitely a gut check for everybody. But one person, when they were having those situations, they asked themselves, when did I decide that I wasn't worthy of taking care of myself? When did I decide that I was not strong enough to maintain the consistency that I built? When did I decide that I wasn't worthy of the investment that I'm making to myself, the health that I want to achieve, and going through all of that? Because when they asked that question, they took full responsibility of every single action that they took, and they really questioned, instead of from a harsh standpoint, they instead asked the question out of curiosity, thinking like, when did this start? And what can I do to invest into myself to know that I am accepting and worthy, and that I do deserve the love that I am making towards myself through the food that I eat, the water that I drink, the people that I celebrate my successes with, and latching onto the rope that they've lent out to me when I wanted to have that support and that guidance. So by taking a step back and taking full responsibility, I feel like one would be able to, and staying in a curious state and really wondering, when did one decide that, and being able to break that down, learning from it, and letting go of the negative emotions and keeping that learning to keep on moving forward. I feel like that is definitely the good way to go. Because one can have cheat days, not going to lie. It's just a matter of what's the intention behind it? Because if the intention is out of fear and desperation and one thinking that they don't deserve that health, the wellness, or the benefits that comes from it, then I feel like at that point, definitely put it in a spot where one isn't even tempted by anything. Like, instead, put it and pair it with stuff that will promote that positive aspects where one is taking care of their health and they're receiving the awesome benefits from it.
That's right. It's one of those things where it's a reward system. You want to trade up your reward system. Yes, you can have a chocolate bar. Yes, you can have any like a piece of cake or anything like that. But is it emotional? Is it targeting something? Is it just replacing something? You can replace the reward system with maybe, hey, I'm gonna buy me that shirt I wanted, or maybe those pair of shoes I saw
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok or whatever you want to call it, anywhere you
Yeah.
saw them that you really liked or anything like that. Anything physical, anything that you don't have to ingest yourself to reward yourself. It's not food that you have to reward yourself with. You can buy that new sunglasses, you can buy that new t-shirt, new pair of pants, new pair of shorts, whatever you saw at the store that you wanted to buy. You can set that as a goal that you get when you reach your goals that you wanted to. You control your sugars for a week. You lost 10 pounds or anything like that. You don't have to. A lot of people reward themselves with food, and that's because in the factors of and the receptors in their brain, and they just I think it's a good thing. So we can replace those things with actual like physical things that you want or anything like that. But you can hold in your hand and keep, and it keeps you. It's a reminder of what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, since if you eat the food, you're not going to remember it tomorrow because you already ate it. And if you're not writing it down, within 2 days you're going to forget what you ate, anyways. But if you buy that shirt, and every time you wear it, you're like, yes, this is a shirt I bought when I lost 10 pounds. These are the shoes that I got when my A1C went from a 6.5 to a 5.5. And you keep those things with you, and then you look at those, and those are more. I feel like those are more rewarding than any food that you can ingest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or if one has yet to recover the funds to invest in themselves with the items like the shirt or the shoes, then reward yourself by going on a walk or visiting nature. There's different ways to set up the rewards. Let's be flexible. Let's get creative. Let's use that imagination to figure out what one wants. And it can definitely be stuff that is also repeating that investment into oneself in a good way.
I agree.
All right, Carlos, a few more questions before we're finished up here. If you were to share one piece of advice with yourself when you were first diagnosed and to somebody who is struggling with diabetes for a while, what would those pieces of advices be?
Two different things. Educate yourself. Even before anybody listening to this, even if you don't have diabetes, educate yourself on it. And because you never know, it could end up. Search your family history, see if anybody in your family has it, because that's a big factor in your family. Research what kind of things. It's not food wise. It's to make sure that you're moving around. Make sure you're not. If you're going to sit around, don't eat everything that's in the refrigerator. Just educate yourself on everything and anything. Get yourself be in community with other diabetics and other people that understand anything in health and fitness, and ask them a bunch of questions and prevent that from going on. We want to stop the generational curse of passing on things of diabetes and uneducation of diabetes and things like that. And second of all, find professional help. I know nobody ever brings this up. Diabetes, professional help. You need a counselor. We all need a counselor because diabetes burnout, we don't know how to deal with it. And these counselors will help you tremendously. I have one, and I talk to them every week, every Monday. And without stop, it's at 5 o'clock every Monday. I stop what I'm doing and I have that hour session with them, and I go through my week and see what's going on, and just helping me. There are a lot of counselors out there that actually deal with diabetics. So you can call up, you can ask, hey, do you guys deal with people with diabetes or pre-diabetics or anything like that within the family? Just like alcoholism. Anybody, psychologists that deal with alcoholism, there's ones out there for diabetics. And there's a lot of resources for that as well. And if you need the help, get the help. It's no shame in it at all.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, I feel like even for people who are going on a day-to-day basis, definitely seek out the professional services because that's an investment to oneself. Because after all, with our cars, we want to make sure that our cars are maintained, like going in for the checkups, getting those oil changed. So why not do the same thing for ourselves? Because we may do that with our body by going on those workouts and then making sure that we invest into the right foods. But what about our mind? Where's the maintenance for our mind? And being able to do that for ourselves and knowing that we are worthy of that acceptance and love to receive that care, to organize our thoughts and getting that maintained and improving it. I feel like that makes wonders in not only just one's ability to manage their diabetes, but their life too.
It's the behaviors. We have the
Mm-hmm.
behaviors of beforehand of our eating habits, our exercise habits, and things like that. So it's all behavioral. And then when we're diagnosed with diabetes, we're still in that behavioral mode from before we had diabetes or got diagnosed with anything, that our minds are still there. And that's all we know. Just like me, I got diagnosed when I was in my 30s. So I had all of my younger age, my teens and my 20s of just behavioral eating and drinking and things like that, which you can, and it's helpful a little at a time to change those behavioral things of eating patterns and drinking patterns and things like that. So it's just one of those, like, that mental health professional will help you with those behavioral issues and move past those things where you can, like, why am I do this? And it can be subconscious, it can be conscious or anything like that. So it's just one of those things that it's behavioral. So just get the help. That's what I say.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much for sharing, Carlos. And I'm sure the audience that are listening to this, watching this, or feeling the messages that we're conveying, I think they're getting a lot out of this. And the next thing, it's a fun question that I'd love to ask all of our guests. It's, what's your zombie apocalypse survival plan?
Find a farmhouse and build a big wall.
Yeah?
Yes. I have some ammunition, have yourself just protection for there. Just build a wall, and the reason why it's farmland is because you can have goats, chickens, and cows, and just have your own little area and protect it, and just have and actually help people out instead of trying to keep it all in. Because most of the time, if you try to keep people out, everybody wants to come in. So as long as you're helping other people,
Yeah.
they're gonna look out for you and make sure that your area is great, and just, yeah, there's maybe go out, find some other things, and shoot some zombies. But other than that, yeah, just try and build me a wall and have me a little farm and survive on that.
It's awesome. Happy to hear that. It's like the whole get a farm, have the walls, make that protection, and then serve others. Love it. All right. Carlos, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I'm sure our audience members and our guests are really wanting to serve and support you and get to know you a bit more, and even give you the support that they can by visiting your website and pages. Where can people find you?
You can search me on any platform, any and every platform. You can email me also at beastnomode@gmail.com. And then you can find me on any social platform at Beast No Mode. So yes, I went through all my socials and made sure I had every single last one. Even if I don't use it, I still signed up as my name so nobody else can use it. So
Yeah.
if you guys on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, you can find me on there. Even on Threads as well too. I'm on there. I just got on there, so you can
Yeah.
got all the bases covered. And now, if you guys have any questions, you guys are more than welcome to reach out to me, and I answer pretty quickly. The phone's attached to my hand for most of the day.
Yeah. Carlos is always working. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you next week. And of course, do one small thing to improve one's body, improve one's mind, and that one small little thing will eventually grow to some amazing things. Thank you all again for showing your support, and we'll see you all next week for the next episode.